For helicopter pilot Jurgen Ruh, each day begins relatively early. Jurgen is a 30-year veteran in Papua New Guinea's aviation industry, and it's sometimes difficult to convince him that he played an important role in saving many lives.
I'm just a driver of a helicopter who's got the resources, which is a helicopter, and the pilot or pilots, and probably the will to help others.
Over the last 10 years, Jurgen's company, Manolos Aviation, based out of Lae, has become an integral part in Morobe's community aviation story. And this is primarily because of the work he has personally done over the decade. He transports VIPs, communications engineers and public servants into some of the most difficult places to get to. But he is better known for the hundreds of medical evacuations he has done.
Growing up, he wasn't really there all the time throughout, my primary years going up to high school. So I never really knew what he was actually doing with his life. I just thought he was flying helicopters, that's it. And I became very rebellious, and I started questioning why my father wasn't there.
In 2017, Jurgen and his team of pilots, engineers and nurses did more than 250 medivacs. In 2018, over 170 people were brought in for medical treatment. Most of those flown in were women suffering from birth complications who come from places that don't have road access.
I was actually in year 10, and I came to Lae for holidays, and he asked me, do you want to come with me on a medivac? And I was like, oh yeah, why not? It's a medivac, I'll just hop on with you. So I asked him, where are we going? And he pointed up that way, and I said, okay, that's raining. It's raining up there, are you sure we're going? He was like, yeah, there's a gap up there. We came into this village, and I've never seen anything so confined in my life. I said, we're not landing there. He said, yes, we are. I said, no, we're not. Let's turn around. He said, Alex, we're landing. And he turned over to the nurse and told her, I can't actually put the collective down. You have to jump out because I'm still going to be hovering. If I put the collective down, the helicopter's going to tip over. I looked really, I was just shocked.
I was supposed to pick up the mother, and she was carried across the valley to Bindong airstrip, so you'll see that.
One of the early medivacs I've done was just about 12 minutes flight from Lae, not far away. In the Bindong area, where a person from the village had to walk for a day to get help because her mother gave birth and she was bleeding. And by the time we got the call, I flew in. As I said, it's one day to walk for them and 12 minutes for me to fly in. And I landed at the school and I asked for them, where's your mother? And they said, oh, we took her across to the health center, which was just across the valley. So I flew from the school to the health center, which took a few seconds, and I looked down and there was this cliff. They had to go down, they had to go across the rapids and a cliff up on the other side to get to the health center. So it was a fairly steep walk down and up again with somebody who was bleeding. And then I landed at the health center. I went into the health center. Oh, there was an aid post with the stretcher, just a stretcher. The mother was shaking. She lost a lot of blood, and they had nothing really to help her except some cotton buds. And so I put her on my stretcher, into the aircraft, guarding into Lae. Again, it was only a 12-minute flight.
Jurgen flies nearly all of the company's medivacs and does the riskiest flights. His personal mission to save lives began in 2009, after the death of a patient he transported to Lae.
It was a 16-year-old girl. She was too young to deliver the baby. The baby had been deceased for 4 days, so we flew her from Lablab into Angao, and I clearly remember her being wheeled into the emergency at Angao, and she died the next morning because nobody attended to her, basically. So that was a death which was very much preventable, and from there I said, I can do better than this.
Just the driver.
He's the happiest after he does a medivac. He's just full of joy, so I can ask him anything at that time. I regretted everything I said to my dad. And I regretted the way I thought about him, thinking, oh, he was never there for my, growing up. He was always on the go, and I regretted that a lot because for every day, every special day that he missed that was mine, a child had a mother, a husband had his wife. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing ever.
Just a word after we left Hagen, I got the message to go to Bololo, so I was the closest.
When he first
And,
came to the
fast
country
talking,
more than 30 years ago, he ran a marine salvage business. In 2004, he decided to include an aviation arm to his marine operation. When the 2008 global financial crisis hit the US and other large economies, demand in the maritime sector shrunk as the shipping industry cushioned itself against the economic downturn.
The regulator would not allow me to operate an aircraft to support my shipping business. They said if you have a helicopter, you must have an air operator certificate. So the regulator basically said, get yourself an AOC, which I then said, well, I'll do it. But little did I know how much was involved at that time when I said, yes, I'll do it.
But domestically, however, helicopter businesses grew as mining companies invested in exploration.
The aviation really didn't have a global financial crisis at the time. In fact, there was a boom due to the boom in the exploration. So one thing led to another, which caused then a decline in activities in marines and an increase in activity in aviation, which happened to lead me to where I am today. So where I am today is not something I had really planned from many years ago. It is something I was, you can say, led into by one thing happening after the other.
On a personal level, you don't really get to appreciate the value of a medivac until you are affected by an emergency. In September 2018, MTV's lay-based senior technician and cameraman Maisen Hongito suffered an accident along the Ramu Usino highway.
I was unconscious, and the only thing that I can remember was just before they put me into the chopper up at Wallium, and then when they, after arrival here in Ley,
Burkiset blame milukim collarbone blame pop out straight up burkiskin come out. I'm so okay.
A request was sent, and late in the afternoon, Jurgen flew from Ley to the accident site to do the medivac.
Mi harem mosem sa phone call bin kama bosem line lo Manolos salo omle helicopter pa kama tablo rosim iplanta lapen. Mi bin tingim straight osem ino na lo mane Pablo company to Jurgen et emet ba kama tab. Stablo tabil ko kam do ne mo bot kale tok tok lo mi le mi bin ito mi bin omle feeling mi ba cry le mo mi ba to thank you kind of, but yeah, well, I'm come down, I'm tok tok me, I'm checking me. Look, lo mean finish the same. You're right. You're right. So let me go same. You are right. You calab lo car. Kind of me help me goran.
if there wasn't any medivac team here in Ley with Jurgen and all his team, I won't be here right now.
There was one time when he was very sick and we had to put him in the ambulance and bring him to the hospital. And there was a security guard standing outside, and so we brought him out. He was very ill, so we had to carry him out and put him on a wheelchair. But there was a security guard out there who was sitting down, and he said, "Oh yeah, em nislamania, em tasole making anti-blooming stuff now, yeah." And that just, it was so random. Like, it was 2 a.m. in the morning. There was this random security guard at the hospital talking about how his auntie was saved because of this man. And we also had this fuel station, and this other guy was like, "Em tasole, pigni blumi right now because lem." And it's just, I've never spoken to someone firsthand. It's always being at random places at random times where they see him, and you know, they respect him so much because there's someone in their family that's alive now.
One of the medivacs that stands out happened on Easter 2017, when the Manolos crew received a distress call from Marawaka in the Eastern Highlands.
That was another very amazing story, and if you talk to medical personnel in the Western world, it is unheard of that a mother gives unassisted birth to triplets. And we've had 2 cases. One was in Pindu and the one from Marawaka. And yes, the mother, she didn't know she had triplets until she had triplets. And then she called for help. And
Emiet Karim, inside Lopus, triplet. To be able to save a life, that's really satisfying than anything. Yeah.
Triplets?
Triplets, man, even more satisfying. Yes, we did 3 today. We normally do that for only one.
The triplets she had was baby number 5, 6, and 7. So she had 4 pregnancies before, out of which she lost 2 babies. And this really shows you the statistics of survival in the bush of a mother and a child if they are unattended.
The triplets and their mothers spent a little over 2 months at Angao Hospital. When the time came for the mothers and babies to go back, the Manolos crew was at the center of the celebrations.
When I flew over, you could see the 4 different tribes and their 4 different colors dancing, and you could see all their feathers moving around, and you could see it was a good experience to see that the whole valley was there and welcoming back the triplets, where the church also could explain to the people that this is a miracle rather than a miracle, and that children of God rather than anything superstitious.
This service long medivac lo igo long border areas 5 provinces me plus sharing border one time. You just imagine provincial headquarters long only stop long. For example, long hap long wasu na tap or medang is stop long way. Na all people long hap side. All hard long kisimol. Or sem long marawaka. Eastern Highlands provincial headquarters is stop long way. Na long kisim help him. Hari up the solba ring kam. Tingi mo line blo email sample hap long goilala. Sample hap long oro. All main centers is stop long way. So time me play kisim talk sabe all these border areas. Me talking mo helicopter in all Morobe side igulong hap side too. Na so plenty line blo people blo email border all kisim big helping me.
Over 3 decades, his job as a helicopter pilot has given Jurgen a unique insight into the problems faced by people in some of the most remote parts of Papua New Guinea. In many aid posts, it's difficult to treat some of the most basic illnesses. The logistical difficulties add to the challenges faced by the people. Continuing the vital services into the future remains a critical priority for Jurgen Ruh. There are currently 6 women training to become certified engineers, and all of them come from rural districts.
I feel privileged and honored to be part of this team because they save lives, and they do it in my province, Morobe. So I feel at home, and I really love contributing to it.
It's like a blessing. It sort of gives you satisfaction at the end of the day, when you see a life being saved and you are at the back of that, like maintaining aircrafts that saves the lives of the people in the remote places.
I actually grew up when he had his shipping business. It was all female as well on the ships. And you'd walk in, see the female engineers and the female captain. And yeah, it's amazing to see that there's a platform for women to have, women can actually know that they have potential and nothing's limited. Whatever you want to do, you can do. And I'm happy that there's a platform for them here that sets high standards for themselves.
I wanted to give a chance to those people who need a chance most, and giving the opportunity then from the onwards I decided only to employ people as engineers if they come from a remote area, and also give females a chance, because a female from a remote area will have the least chance ever to get into aviation. So I wanted to give a chance to those ones who need it most.